Everybody, please be seated.
Yes.
Judge Lear.
It is on.
No, yeah, he's. No, I switched them around. This is Maria Luisa, my judicial assistant.
Yes.
Commissioner. No. This is where we are. I changed it. This is where I want them.
Okay.
And I want the clerk there.
Oh, okay. Perfect.
Commissioner has to leave. Judge Lear. Judge Lear, we're going to be starting.
Okay.
You going to start?
No, you're going to start. You're the first. Welcome.
All right, are we ready?
Moved our easel out. Why is it so
Moved
dark
our
in here?
easel. I don't know. Maria, where's the easel? The easel.
We have to take it out, Judge.
Why?
Because of the color bar
No,
and
but
the
you need to
bailiff.
grab that. Oh. Okay.
When I'm
Judge Lear, are you ready? Are you ready?
Yeah.
I'm gonna say something. Okay.
absolutely.
All right, good morning, everyone. Good morning. Please be seated. Program's about to start. Mr. Clerk, do we have a seat for you up front? You're holding up the proceedings. Sit down.
Sorry, Your Honor.
Oh, you're going to hire? And why is this like this?
No, it's on.
Can we
Okay.
not put it up
Yeah,
here?
can we move this? This is really in everybody's way.
Do we need this? Does Alex need it?
Move this? Oh, maybe Alex needs it.
Are you going to want the mic over here?
Or can you hold it?
Well,
Well, he's tall enough. He's tall enough. Because it's blocking me.
oh, got you. Okay. Oh, I didn't even think about it. Go.
Everybody, please be seated. Arena, are you going to be this way or that way? Yeah. Okay, thank you. All right, welcome everyone. Hello. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to the North Day Justice Center's annual Law Day celebration. I'm Judge Linda Singer-Stein, and together with my co-chair, Judge Miriam Lear, we are so happy to see you all again. I'd like to introduce our co-chairs. First, Judge Natalie Moore. Judge Ayanna Harris. Judge Chaka Hekwaba. And Judge Raul Cuervo. We hope that you were able to find your way up here easily because this year we had the help of our cadets from the Dr. Michael M. Kropp Lightning Battalion, and they are a great addition to our celebration. This wonderful event is also being live streamed through the 11th Judicial Circuit's YouTube channel. We're once again thrilled to welcome back our Law Academy students. They're from our neighboring Alonso and Tracy Morning High School, ATM, and we've partnered with them for over a decade, along with their outstanding leader, Mr. Luke Schlehuber. They're in the next courtroom, and welcome, everybody.
Thank you. And good morning again.
For 27 years, the North Day Justice Center has been celebrating our nation's commitment to the rule of law. Our founding fathers created the court system to uphold the Constitution and provide balance to our government. That is why Congress, in 1958, officially designated May 1st as Law Day. The theme this year is Voices for Democracy. We must all use our voices to maintain our system of laws and to ensure that our democracy, as conceived, endures. The rule of law is not a static concept. It is a living, breathing process, our constant vigilance and our active participation.
The celebration of Law Day encourages all Americans to be advocates for democracy. But democracy is not merely a system of governance. It's a promise of freedom, of representation, and of opportunity for all. It's a promise that every voice will be heard, every right protected, and every individual valued. But this promise is not self-sustaining. It requires the unwavering dedication of every one of us to defend it against the forces of tyranny, oppression, and injustice.
Judge Stein and I are proud that together over many years we have made an impact on this vast and diversified community of ours. We continue our path of educating in the law, high school and law school students, and include various bar associations along with the Aventura Marketing Council members to increase recognition of the County Court Civil Division for the entire 11th Judicial Circuit system. The whole day, this whole day, would not be possible without the wonderful support that we have enjoyed from many in the community who have made this possible over the years. For the last 27 years, I looked forward to planning this event as one of the most enjoyable and meaningful one with my forever co-chair and friend, Judge Linda Singer-Stein. And of course, along with our wonderful colleagues that have been with us at the North Day Justice Center. And we are so blessed to have some of these wonderful colleagues with us right here today.
So when I told my colleagues what was going to be planned today, Judge Harris said, "Oh, does that mean that none of us can wear mascara because we're going to be crying?" Yeah. In a few moments, Judge Ehekwaba will be recognizing all of our visiting judges, speakers, and distinguished guests. So please bear with us on that. However, I want to make a special mention of how honored we are that we have two Florida Supreme Court justices with us today. Florida Supreme Court Justice Renatha Francis, who is a former North Day judge. And Florida Supreme Court Justice John Curiel, who is our adopted neighborhood judge. They made this trip especially because, Judge Lear, you are such a special person. Some of you may know that this is Judge Lear's last law day before she retires at the end of the year. When Justice Francis and Justice Curiel found out, both immediately said they would not miss it because they wouldn't just be here to enjoy Law Day, but also to celebrate Judge Lear's many years of bringing the community together. We really appreciate you being here on this special day. And now, on with the program. Judge Cuervo.
Thank you. So, I am Judge Cuervo. This thing's not working, and I don't need it. So I'm Judge Cuervo, and I'm really happy to be back here in the North Day Justice Center. I was gone for a couple of years, and so I'm very happy to be back. Please rise for the honor guard from the Dr. Michael M. Kropp Lightning Battalion, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by the North Dade Bailiffs, then followed by God Bless America to be sung by Cami Liz. Honor guard, present the colors.
Upturn, arch, colors, hope. Present, colors. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the ocean, wide with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
Harry, colors. Right turn, hearts. Forward, hearts.
And please remain standing for the invocation. Linda?
I'm too short to have that up there. Okay, Billy. It is my pleasure to ask a good friend to us all, Commissioner Mickey Steinberg, to give the invocation. Commissioner, thank you for being here.
As we gather on this Law Day 2024, let us pause for a moment of reflection. We are grateful for the opportunity to come together in the spirit of justice and community. We give thanks for the dedication of the Aventura Marketing Council and the judges of the North Dade Justice Center in organizing this annual Law Day event. May our time together be marked by understanding, respect, and a shared commitment to upholding the rule of law. May this morning's event inspire us to uphold the ideals of justice and equality not only today, but every day. And may we be inspired to work towards a future where justice prevails and the rights of every individual are respected and upheld. Amen.
All right, everyone, please be seated. You have it? Where is it? You were holding it. Maria? Yes. Where is it? Commissioner Steinberg, if you would stay at the podium, please. I understand that you have something special to present today. Judge Lear, if you would join me at the podium, please. Come join Judge Steinberg.
Yes.
I mean, Commissioner Steinberg. Oh, I elevated you.
Yes, you.
Oh, my goodness.
So wait, there's more.
Oh, my goodness.
I have a proclamation that I'll be presenting. Whereas English poet, critic, and writer Samuel Johnson once said, "The law is the last resort of human wisdom acting upon human experience for the benefit of the public." And Miami-Dade County is privileged to honor those persons who have dedicated themselves to upholding the laws of our land with the highest esteem to ensure equality, fairness, and justice for all. And whereas the Honorable Miriam Lear began her tenure as a judge serving in the Criminal and Justice Divisions in 1997, and her time on the bench has since been marked by an unwavering devotion to equality and justice, where she has utilized her knowledge of the law and her personal experiences to make decisions that were fair for all. And whereas appointed as Associate Administrative Judge of the Civil Division of the County Court for the 11th Judicial Circuit in 2018, Judge Lear has gone above and beyond as a leader to educate students of all ages, to mentor her peers, to serve her community through several initiatives and partnerships, including with the Law Academy of the Alonzo and Tracy Morning High School. And whereas Judge Lear has devoted her time and efforts to passionately bring her widespread knowledge to various organizations, and she's just a woman of valor.
Thank you so much.
During the North Day Justice Center annual Law Day celebration, it is only fitting that this distinguished magistrate be honored for her invaluable contributions to our way of life. So now, therefore, be it resolved, on behalf of our mayor, our Board of County Commissioners, that we hereby proclaim Thursday, May 2nd, as the Honorable Miriam Lear Day in Miami-Dade County.
Linda, come.
She deserves it. Don't give your speech.
No speech. To my wonderful commissioner, thank you ever so much. I can't tell you how much this means to me. The words mean the most to me because that's how I strive to live my life every single day, to do the correct thing when I come to work. People have entrusted me to do this job, and I really thank you for the recognition, this job that I love so much. So thank you very much all, and it is so beautiful to be here on Law Day, to see so many of my friends and colleagues, and just to make this such a special day in my life. So thank you, and let's get on with the program. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, who's next? My wonderful Chaka.
Thank you. So we've now come to the part of the program that all of you have been waiting for, to actually find out who else is here apart from myself. All right. So I am going to introduce all our special guests that are here today. I must say everybody is a special guest, but some people are a little bit more special than others. So we are honored to have so many special guests joining us today, and I would just ask that you all please hold your applause until the end. Events like this don't happen without sponsors, and we are so fortunate to have some wonderful sponsors here. As I call your name, please stand to be recognized. First and foremost, the attorney who has been a sponsor of our Law Day for many years, Ms. Cheryl Berkowitz, partner in Fensterscheib and Berkowitz. Cheryl said again this year, I would like to do more, and then more again, and she did. Thank you so much, Cheryl Berkowitz. Another company that has been our Law Day sponsors for years is Valley Bank. They are our neighbors, and they are here represented by Jeffrey Levinson and Gregory Roberts. Thank you very much. And this year, I believe we have with us our Florida State Senator, Jason Pizzo, join as a sponsor. He is here represented by legislative aide Olivia Kalari. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. As always, the Aventura Marketing Council and Chamber of Commerce has been our strong partner. They are represented here by Chairman Gary Payette, past Chairman Cliff Shulman, and of course, our wonderful rock star, President Elaine Adler. Thank you very much. We also have 9 participating bar associations that have helped sponsor this event. And I am delighted to recognize the president or past presidents of each bar association. And as I call your name, other board members and members who are here should please stand and show your support. I'm starting with the Caribbean Bar Association with the president, Lara Dabdube. Thank you very much. The Colombian American Bar Association, I have Maria Teresa Salato, past president. Thank you, and other board members. The Cuban American Bar Association, I have Javier Le Soto, our president. Then the Florida Association of Women Lawyers, I have Super President Amber Conroy. For Gwen Cherry Black Women Lawyers, I have President Latoya Brown. For the Haitian Lawyers Association, I have Deborah Saint-Ville, the president, and her board member. Thank you very much. For North Dade Bar Association, I have Rick Chizevo, president, and our longtime friend, the past president, Michael Blinn. Okay. From South Broward Bar Association, I have the past president and a very good friend of the North Dade Justice Center, Mr. Russell Lazega. From Wilkie D. Ferguson Jr. Bar Association, I have Super President Terry Ann Howell. This is a long list, ladies and gentlemen, so please, just bear with me. We are very fortunate to also have many elected and appointed officials from throughout the county here with us, and I'm delighted to recognize, of course, you have already met from Miami-Dade County, Commissioner Mickey Steinberg. We also have our Clerk of Courts and Comptroller, Juan Fernandez Barquin. From the city of Aventura, I have, these are our neighbors right here, so all of you had better be here. Vice Mayor Paul Cruz, Commissioner Billy Joel, Commissioner Dr. Linda Marks, Commissioner Rachel Friedland, Commissioner Amit Bloom, Commissioner Michael Stern, City Manager Ron Wasson, Deputy City Manager Brian Pagis, Police Chief Michael Bentolila. From the city of Sunny Isles Beach, we have Mayor Larissa Suvechin, Commissioner Jerry Joseph, Commissioner Jennifer Viscaru, Commissioner Fabiola Stevensont. From the city of North Miami Beach, we have Mayor Evan Piper, Vice Mayor Fortuna Smuckler, Interim Police Chief Nelson Camacho, Commissioner Michael Joseph, Commissioner Jay Chernoff, Commissioner Phyllis Smith. From Golden Beach, we have Mayor Glenn Singer. From the village of El Portal, we have Mayor Omar Nickerson. From the town of Surfside, Councilman Gerardo Vildo Stegui and interim town attorney Mark Bloomstein. From the city of North Miami, Police Chief Cherise Gauss. From the village of Miami Shores, Esmond Scott, the village manager. From the city of Miami Gardens, Councilwoman Shannon Campbell, Councilwoman Linda Julian, Police Chief Delma Noel Pratt, and City Attorney Sonia Dickens. Thank you very much. From the city of Doral, Councilwoman Digna Cabral and Councilwoman Maureen Porras. From the city of Hialeah Gardens, Councilman Rolly Pina. And from the town of Bay Harbor Islands, Councilman Robert Yaffe. All right, now moving on to, I would say, the most important people in the room. You have, I believe, or maybe not yet, our Chief Judge, Nushin Saifi. Our guest speaker, of course, the 3rd DCA Judge, Alexander Boko. But yes, you have already met Justice Renata Francis and Justice John Curiel, for whom we are really grateful that they are both able to join us. And now we have our colleagues. I have Judge Michael Barquette, former Chief Judge, Judge Batia Soto, Judge Alicia Garcia Priovalos, Judge Christopher Green, Judge Jennifer Hochstadt, Judge Jason Demetris, Judge Victoria Ferrer, Judge Carol Kelly, Judge Diana Vizcaino, Judge Lodi Jean, Judge Betsy Alvarez Zane, Judge Marcos Bach Amas, Judge Christy Nunez, Judge Darrell Trewick, and I hope I got everybody. Former Judge Scott Janowitz. Oh, yes, of course, Senior Judge Karen Schwartz. Without our senior judges, we all wouldn't be able to function. I have some other special guests, and these are some very important people in our society because they are responsible for the next generation of lawyers. I have the president of St. Thomas University, Dave Armstrong, the dean of St. Thomas Law School, Talika Nunez Navarro, the associate dean of St. Thomas Law School, John Macdesy, the former associate dean of St. Thomas Law School, who is a great friend to the North Day Justice Center, Lourdes Fernandez, Professor at St. Thomas, Rosa Patty, Associate Dean, Brian Scanesia, Professor Susan Warhite, and Professor Annie Chan. We also have the Interim Dean of the University of Miami Law School, Dean Patricia Abril. We have the Senior Manager of the Litigation Skills Program, Lydia Sanchez. We have the President of Barry University, Dr. Mike Allen. The Provost of Barry University, Dr. Pablo Ortiz. And we have the Florida National University Department Head of the Criminal Justice and Legal Studies, Jacqueline Exeus. Oh, I just see Judge Christine Bandine has joined us. Welcome. And then, of course, not forgetting our internal family. You have already met the Clerk of Courts, Juan Fernandez Barquin. Supporting him here, we have the Senior Deputy Clerk, Doreen Ruggiero. We also have Sandra Bazil, the Assistant, the Director of Court Divisions. We have Miss Sylvia Beebe as well, one of our Directors of Court Divisions. We have Mr. Paul Collado, the Assistant Director of the District Courts Division. We have Jenny Sejas, one of our North Dade supervisors, along with Supervisor Damian Colley and Robert Delfos. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope I have recognized everybody. If I haven't, just know you are even more special, and that's why your name was not mentioned. But we welcome you all, and we are very happy that you are able to join us. Thank you.
I have the honor of introducing Chief Judge Nushin Safi, who is the Chief Judge of the 11th Judicial Circuit. She's in her second term. She's an excellent judge and administrator. She advocates for us statewide, and so we're very glad she's here to say a few words.
Wait, I got some more VIPs to introduce. So it's good to be back at my home away from home. I say that because I live in the neighborhood, so I love coming here. I also say that because every time I come to North Dade, I know I'm going to get fed some Moe's. That's always a joy. But especially because of the feeling that comes from this courthouse. I think Chief Judge Emeritus Soto would join me in recognizing that while we love all of our divisions equally, there is something special about North Dade. And I can tell you from my own experience that when we have new judges starting, many of them come here. And when we have the choice, when they have a choice and they say, Nushin, where should I go? Inevitably, if North Dade is an option, I always say pick North Dade. As exhibited by the fact that my good friend Chaka Ihekupa became a judge, and she lives about as far from here as you can live. And I said, Chaka, pick North Dade. And she has had opportunities to leave, and she's still here. And I really think it's a tribute to the spirit of this place. But you can't separate the spirit of this building without thinking about Judge Linda Stein and Judge Mimi Lair. So as you've already heard, it's Judge Lair's last law day as a sitting judge. And I got to tell you, thinking about these remarks, I'm a very mushy-gushy, emotional person, but I really thought, no, I'll be fine. And then Mimi got up there, and I was like, I whispered to Soto, I'm like, oh my God, I'm not going to make it, I'm not going to make it. So I'm going to try to make it. And I think the reason I thought I was going to make it, because I was really going to talk about what Mimi has meant to the bench as a judge. And she's up here in North Dade, and it's far from a lot of the stuff and the hustle and bustle of downtown. But when I think of the number of judges that have started here, that are now on the Supreme Court, that are on the 3rd DCA, that are on the circuit bench, that are on the county bench elsewhere, that have gone on to really great careers, this is a place where their foundation was laid. And that is a huge tribute to the two queens of North Dade. And the idea, I can't even look at Linda right now because I keep thinking what it must be like to work with somebody who love and adore every day, and then next, I'm going to make everyone cry, I'm sorry. But yeah, next year, Linda's going to not be with us as a sitting judge. But I'm sorry, Mimi's not going to be with us as a sitting judge. I'm sorry. No. What I meant was Linda's not going to be able to work with her best friend anymore, yes. But what I was thinking is I'm picturing Mimi coming in here next year with like maybe a big sun hat and holding a margarita. And she's going to be still as smiling as big and beautiful as ever. And maybe you'll have a good suntan. And,
She's going to have a desk for me in her office.
Even better. Even better. But I know recently you and I spoke and you talked about how it was bittersweet for you. And I think my response to you was That's the way it should be. The sign of a career that is just well-earned and just accolades that are well-deserved, it means that it should be bittersweet. And I know I want to say it's more bitter than sweet for the rest of us, but it is so sweet to think about everything that you have done in your career. It's a little bit bitter to think about you leaving, because I think there are people who go, we have 123 judges on the bench for one of the largest jurisdictions in the country. And, I always say when a judge leaves, there's going to be, in seconds, there's going to be a line of people waiting to put that robe on and do the job. But Mimi, you've done the job in a way that is really amazing, and you're not going to be irreplaceable. You're going to be irreplaceable. And the feeling that you give to people when you connect with them is something that is just palpable. And it's something that I think the minute someone says hi to you, they can just feel your warmth and generosity of spirit the minute they say hi to you. And I think for me personally, you've been there for me through some challenging times, and you've always been supportive, and you've been especially supportive to me the last 3 years in the journey in getting here. And I am sad that I won't be able to have you as a colleague, but I'm thrilled that I will forever be able to call you my friend. And I am grateful to you, not just as a chief, but as a judge, and as a member of this community, for all you've done to really, your legacy goes so far beyond what you've done in this courtroom, all the judges you've touched, all the judges you've helped grow up and to become big judges, big grown-up judges, and honestly, there's too much to say. And for those of you who would like to audition for the part of Linda Stein's sidekick, good luck, because those are shoes that are not going to be easy to fill. Anyway, so this year's theme is Voices of Democracy, and I'm going to leave it to other people to talk more about it. But I think as we see what's going on in the world, and certainly as we see what's going on in our own community, moments like this are so important, because it brings us as lawyers back to our roots, and it reminds us of the history of this country, and it reminds us of why we do what we do, and it reminds us of all the things that make this country great. And at times like this, it's even more important. Voices of lawyers throughout the history of this country, it's the voices of lawyers that have really brought us progress and brought us where we are today. And it's the voices of lawyers that are going to help us get through difficult times as well. It's a reason we're still an example to other nations for the 250 years that we've been in existence. But I would say this, more important than any other time, certainly in my adult life, I feel like these voices are more important than ever. And lawyers at our best were the voices for the voiceless. And I think that when we especially were speaking to the young kids that we were speaking to this morning, that's what I want to instill in them. Like, if you want to be a lawyer, that's what it's about. It's about using your words, and it's about the power of words, and it's about all the things that are really the foundation of this country. And so I'm grateful to share this day with you, and I want to say thank you to all of my North Dade colleagues, past and present, for forever being the lifeblood of this place and really being a big part of the backbone of our circuit. And congratulations to all the students participating in the essay contest, but especially the winners. And with that, I'm going to give you back to the Queens.
I hope now the mascara comment makes a little bit more sense that I made. So a little context there. Good morning, everyone, and we're so happy to have you all with us. I now have the pleasure of introducing one of our esteemed partners, a member of our court family who we absolutely could not live without, our clerk of court, Juan Fernandez Barquin.
Good morning. So, Judge Lair, I'll tell you, having practiced law in North Dade and having been a practicing attorney, you were always great to be in front of, and we're going to miss you very much. So, thank you. No, of course. The importance of Law Day and promoting the legal system, the understanding of the legal system, and the importance of upholding the rule of law in order to promote a just and orderly society is so incredibly important. But it's not just like what Judge Safey said. It's not just, I want to elaborate on that. It's not just the attorneys, it's not just the judges, but it is also the clerks and the bailiffs. And we're all one big legal ecosystem. And each one of us have an incredibly valuable part to play in this. And it's so incredibly special to be part of this community and to promote this system. And I want to encourage the children here that in the event that you don't want to be an attorney, you could always be a clerk. You could always be a paralegal. There's so many other functions to play, but it's and always keep your options open. So thank you very much, and Judge, no, that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Juan. We appreciate you being here. And now, Judge Lear, if you would join me at the podium, please. Another thing that's not on your program.
Different program.
We have another very special presentation. So if our presenters would come forward.
Hi. We're all here for Law Day, but we would like to express how we feel about Judge Miriam Lear's retirement and why she is such a big deal.
Too many accomplishments to mention, all plenty impressive.
There's just no misapprehension of her many successes.
For so long, our Judge Lear has carried such a prominent place.
She's become quite the legend in this great Sunshine State.
And as she is retiring after so many years of devotion,
still, she'll be inspiring. So we stand here with emotion.
Whatever she does, whether planned or sporadic,
she'll reach high above, and she'll be the very best at it.
Judge Lear, here we are gathered en masse.
To salute all you've accomplished, an undeniable task.
Your achievements are endless, the amazing Judge Lear.
You will never be friendless and will always be here. So whatever direction, you'll ace every test. With much love and intention, we wish you the best.
You are all so wonderful. Thank you so very much. I really don't know what more to. This is unbelievable.
So if this isn't working, I'm going to yell. First of all, I love being in North Dade. I never practiced here, and I never sat as a judge here. But as an administrator, I was always able to come to Law Day. It's been 27 years of coming as many times as I can. Justices, whenever I didn't have calendar, I had coverage. Everybody here has coverage, just in case you're worrying. Judge Safey and I were looking at each other going, okay, we're going to explain this. Because we are very, very, very busy. So 28 years ago, I started my campaign at the age of 32 to be a county judge. And God blessed me with the most wonderful human being to be on the campaign trail with, and that is Mimi Lair, who has become my sister. And my father, who is no longer with us, who adored Mimi, said to me, "That is someone that will be your friend for life." And when Linda told me this is her last law day, I'm like, I'm not going to FCTC because I'm supposed to be somewhere, but I'm appearing by phone. And I'm going to be here with Mimi because what Linda and Mimi have done for North Dade and Law Day, you know, because every year you come, and it's always the most impressive group of leaders from this community. And every year I see you, and every year you participate and support your city and your district. And that's because of these two beautiful ladies who have come in, I guess, here into the community and brought you in. As the former chief, I can tell you, I did the same thing as Nushin. If someone said, "Where do you want to go?" I'd say North Dade, no matter where they lived, because I knew the mentoring here, the experience here was bar none the best. That doesn't mean that Coral Gables isn't nice and South Dade isn't nice and Hialeah isn't bello. But North Dade has something, and I think a lot of it has to do about you. So I know this bouquet doesn't just come from me and from Nushin. It comes from all of you, because she's a flower in our lives who will not be replaced, like Nushin said. She is one in a bazillion, and we will forever be indebted to everything she's done for our circuit. I love you, Mimi Lair.
I love you, darling. Thank you, friends. Friends, thank you so very much from the bottom of my heart. And
Mama,
I love you. I love you. Mama, I love you.
I told y'all, context, context, context. I told you. All right, and now we are going to welcome Rick Schitziver and Russell Lizega from the North Dade Bar Association to share with us the winners of this year's Law Day Student Essay Contest. Where are they? And by way of trivia, some fun trivia, Russ was the winner of the essay contest just 37 short years ago.
And he's still waiting to cash the check. I heard it bounced. So I'm Rick Chisover. I'm the president of the North Dade Bar. Russell Lizega is my longtime secretary and also past president. We also have Esther Blinn here, who is also very instrumental in the group. We're one of the oldest bar associations in this region, and we get so much support from everybody in this room, but also Judge Lair, you're at all of our lunches, and I know you're always busy, but you guys always come to our lunches and you support us, and even though you are going to be retiring, you always get a free lunch at the North Dade Bar Association. So we expect you maybe to come and talk about retirement and what you're doing. But
How about my new life and my new ventures? Can we do that?
that's what you're going to talk about.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's what I'll talk about.
And you get a free lunch. So one of the things that we do is we hold the essay contest, and this year we have 4 winners, and Russell will briefly tell you what the contest was about.
Thank you, Rick. As someone who stood here 37 years ago, as Judge Harris pointed out, it's great to see the future. And reading these essays and the hard work of these kids, folks, you see what you want in the news. When you see these kids, the future looks bright. So without further ado, let's see our future, some of our future leaders, the future people that will be standing here in this room years from now. Rick, if you'll call out our winners.
Our honorable mention is Adrian Alvarez. Come on up if I call your name if you're here. Adrian, if you're here. Third place, Emmanuel Pierre. Second place is Mia Jacoby. And our first place winner, and the essay is on your program, we invite up Lucas Moraes. Congratulations. Thank you.
We're gonna take a picture real quick, right, Andy?
Come out from behind the podium. Come over here. Close together.
Congratulations. From Judge Lear's son, Jonathan.
Good luck. We have checks for everybody.
Okay, Judge Lear, one more time, I'm dragging you up here. All right, where's my tissues, Maria? It's good, it's good. Thank you. Judge Lear, before you introduce our wonderful featured speaker, the Honorable Alex Boker, who's also our former, where'd he go? Who's also our former colleague, I would like to recognize my dear friend and co-chair, Judge Miriam Lear, who will be retiring at the end of the year, you heard. It was Judge Lear's commitment to fostering a deeper understanding of legal principles among students and our community that led her to initiate the North Dade Justice Center's annual Law Day almost 3 decades ago when she was 12 years old. Many of the judges you see here today started their judicial careers with us at the North Dade Justice Center and participated with us in the Law Day celebrations. I asked a few of our present and past North Dade colleagues of their memories and impressions of Judge Lear and Law Day. A common theme was Judge Lear's warmth and enthusiasm in inviting them to participate in the program, enticing them as soon as they arrived, creating a unique camaraderie and bond between us all. The judges all emphasized how impressed they are with Judge Lear's passion for community outreach and making sure to include students, which has resulted in our Law Day platform celebration for learning, dialogue, and empowerment, touching countless lives and inspiring future generations to pursue justice and fairness. Thanks to Judge Lear, the North Dade Justice Center's Law Day has become the most highly anticipated and exciting event of the year. Okay, here's where the tissues come in. On a very personal note, I've been privileged to stand beside this wonderful person for all this time, admiring not only her keen sense of justice and fairness in the courtroom, but her joy in bringing people together to enrich all of our lives. Judge Lear, oh, I forgot, I want to present you with something. I want to present you, Judge Lear, with some memories of your own. A collage of photos of Law Day throughout the years with you at the helm. And Judge Lear, although this is your last Law Day as a sitting judge, next year will be the first Law Day where you are participating as a retired judge.
I will be there.
Thank you, Judge Lear, for everything you've done to make our annual Law Day an amazing success.
I love you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Now you introduce His Majesty. Okay, your turn now. Whew. All right. What a beautiful day. And it's only going to get better. I first came to know Judge Boker in 2016 when he was newly appointed as a county court judge. From the get-go, he was very much a team player and became a cherished and lifelong friend.
This being my last year on the bench, I am so thrilled that my good friend Judge Boker has honored my request to be our featured speaker today. We were fortunate that one of his first assignments was here at the North Dade Justice Center in the Civil Division. Right away, Judge Boker impressed us with his intelligence and sense of humor. Always very much a part of the North Dade family, from division meetings to working lunches. Before Judge Boker became a judge, he served as an assistant Miami-Dade County attorney and also practiced commercial litigation at prominent state and national firms in both New York and Florida. He was also a federal law clerk for Judge Stephen Merridale of the U.S. District Court for the Middle District of Florida. Judge Boker is a proud graduate of Southern Methodist University, where he obtained a BA cum laude in history, foreign languages, Spanish and German, and Latin American studies. And to top it off, the University of Pennsylvania Law School, where he earned his JD and served as an editor on the Journal of Constitutional Law. That's pretty impressive, Judge Boker. In 2018, Judge Boker, just 2 years later, from when he was first appointed as county judge, was elevated to the circuit bench by Governor, now Senator Scott. As a circuit judge, in addition to serving in the civil division, Judge Boker participated on then Chief Judge Bertia Soto's task force, charged with pandemic planning, responsible for enabling and implementing remote video appearances and remote evidentiary procedures for all divisions of circuit and county court. In 2020, Judge Boker was again elevated to the 3rd District Court of Appeal by Governor Ron DeSantis, and the voters of Miami-Dade and Monroe counties retained Judge Boker in 2022. Judge Boker has been appointed to many prestigious committees by Chief Justice Carlos Muniz. He also serves as a speaker and has moderated for numerous bar associations, law schools, colleges, and civic groups, and also as an invited panelist at the American Board of Trial Advocates, Miami Chapter's 2019 Teachers Law School, presented in conjunction with Miami-Dade College and Miami-Dade County Public Schools. Judge Boker has also presented on a variety of topics, including separation of powers, administrative law, professionalism, appellate and civil practice, practicing during the pandemic, and electronic discovery. For his work on the bench and in the community, Judge Boker was honored in 2018 with the Miami Jewish Legal Society's 9th annual Rodef Shalom Purveyor of Justice Award, and in 2021 with the Miami-Dade Trial Lawyers Association's Justice Harry Lianstead Award. Judge Boker and his wife, Maya Aaron, a prominent commercial litigator, are involved in numerous charitable and philanthropic causes, with Maya taking leadership roles in several nonprofit volunteer organizations. They really are a superpower couple, those two. When not working, Judge Boker enjoys cooking, and he's a good cook, traveling, playing tennis, and most of all, spending time with Maya, the family, and their dog. So, Judge Boker, here we go. Your turn, finally, our featured speaker.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. Or not quite yet. I guess we're still doing this. Okay. So thank you for having me on Miriam Lear Day to speak. I guess I'm going to talk about this little thing, the Constitution, but a little anticlimactic now. It's great to be back here with so many familiar faces. This was my first real home as a judge, and it will always be home, and it really is thanks to these wonderful We called them the bossy bosses, but Queens is probably better of the court, so we'll stick with that. I have some really wonderful things to say about Judge Lair, but I just want to say most of it's been said already. It's all true, but I just want to say something from my heart, which is when I was thinking about all she's done for the community, all she's done for the students, all you do for the next generation, for the young judges, it reminded me of a Jewish concept called the Dor V'Dor, which means from one generation to the next. Judge Lair, you embody this principle of giving back and making sure our next generation stands on our shoulders and we keep growing as a community and as a country. Thank you for all you do. So before this gets even more sappy, let me get back to the program. Let me start with why we're here. I'm going to talk about the rule of law, separation of powers under our constitutional system of government. But let's make it a little interactive at first. So let me start with a show of hands. And there's no right answer. There's a right answer. But I'm not going to, I want you to be honest. I want to encourage you to not be shy here. So which is more important as a practical matter for the protection of your individual rights? The principle of separation of powers or the government restrictions spelled out in the Bill of Rights, which is the first 10 amendments? So which is more important for the rule of law as applied to individuals and groups? Separation of powers or Bill of Rights? Who says separation of powers? And who says Bill of Rights? Well, of course the Bill of Rights is important. Many people at the founding considered it vital to their assent to the Constitution that the Bill of Rights was voted on also. So it's a little bit of a trick question in that regard because they sort of go hand in hand a little bit. But I contend, and what I'm going to spend the next few minutes discussing, is the fundamental pillar of our democratic governance, at least as it pertains to the rule of law and the preservation of your individual and collective rights, is the principle of separation of powers that's enshrined in the United States Constitution. So first, what is the rule of law? At least, how am I defining it to examine my thesis? The concept of the rule of law means that no one is above the law. All individuals, including government officials, are subject to legal constraints, ensuring that justice is administered fairly and impartially, safeguarding individual rights and liberties. It also serves as a check against the arbitrary exercise of power by those in positions of authority. But the concept of separation of powers grounds the rule of law in practice as opposed to simply a beautiful theory. Separation of powers divides the functions of government into those familiar three branches: the legislative, the executive, and judicial. We can talk also about horizontal separation of powers between federal and state as an additional and important safeguard that our constitutional founders included, but we're going to keep it, save that for another day. Maybe Mimi Lear Day Part 2. But focusing on the traditional separation of powers, each branch has its own distinct powers and responsibilities. Sometimes they say three equal branches. I don't think that's exactly true. They're not equal. They don't do the same things, but they're there in constant tension. It's the separate part that's important. And no single branch can dominate and usurp the powers of the others. The separation acts as a safeguard against tyranny and abuse, or an abusive concentration of power, fostering a system of checks and balances where each branch serves as a check on the powers of the other. The inherent brilliance in this institutional separation shows that our founding fathers understood human nature. Absolute power corrupts, absolutely, and they made sure to create a system with tension on multiple levels to make sure that no one branch, and in particular no one person, no despot, no king, no monarch, dominated the conversation. It is that tension, fighting, balancing, and rebalancing between the branches that preserves and protects the very rights and responsibilities outlined elsewhere in the Constitution, including the Bill of Rights and the Civil War amendments. In the United States, the Constitution delineates the powers and functions of each branch of government, ensuring that they operate independently within their purview, yet must act cooperatively to get the big stuff done. But if you looked at our Constitution, it's not a very long document. Look at the EU Constitution, it's a telephone book. Even the Florida Constitution is much, much bigger. So how is our Constitution still vital, still working so many years later when it's a pamphlet, basically? Well, that was intentional. That was intentional, and part of that intentionality was this concept of separation of powers to keep the system going no matter what challenge was being faced at that moment. The founders knew they wouldn't anticipate every challenge, so they made sure to put a system in place that did. So the founders created this institutional tension. Yes, planned inefficiency in some regards, to make sure individual liberties and rights were free from undue government intrusion and they weren't trampled in the governmental process. We know in the legislative branch, Congress is responsible for making the laws. The executive branch, headed by the president, is tasked with enforcing, faithfully carrying out those laws. And the judicial branch, led by the Supreme Court, applies the law. This system of checks and balances has been integral to the stability and endurance of American democracy. No system of government made by man is perfect. And sometimes our system is frustrating. Sometimes that frustration is by design to prevent the concentration of power into government hands. But it's unmatched, our system, in the history of the world in preventing any one branch or person from ruining the system, from taking the beautiful words on the page and turning them into nothing more than a dream. Our system provides rights in reality. The separation of powers enshrined in our constitutional democracy has served as a model for effective democratic governance around the world. So while our U.S. Constitution is often held as a paragon of democratic principles, it's essential to recognize that other countries have different constitutional arrangements. And even when they work relatively well, the structural weaknesses present there truly highlight the enlightened design of our system. So in some countries, and we'll talk about some of the ones that work fairly well, some very well, the United Kingdom, there's no formal separation of powers as in the United States. Indeed, the Prime Minister is not even a real office in the United Kingdom. Did you know that? It's not even a real thing. It's not mentioned anywhere. It's more by convention and custom. So, but it works. The executive branch is drawn from their legislative branch. Even the judicial branch, while it nowadays, in modern times, functions practically as a separate branch, really had no explicit constitutional separation from the legislative branch. So while this system can lead to efficient decision-making, you really have one voice, it also raises concerns about the concentration of power in the hands of an executive. Similarly, in parliamentary systems like Germany and Canada, much like Great Britain, the executive branch is drawn from the legislature, with the head of government typically being the leader of the majority party. While this can foster close coordination, it can also raise questions about independence of the executive from the legislature, and indeed, in some countries, the courts become captive to that system too. So there's France too. Probably the less said about France, the better. I mean, it's a similar, it's sort of a hybrid system, but the problem there is when you have a majority in power, when the president and the French Congress are in the same party, you really have, the minority has absolutely no voice. So how does this, what's the problem? Well, it manifests itself, you see in France there's strikes, paralyzing strikes. Every time the government does something, even with the mandate, because the minority has no voice, there's no real way to express it. So that can be a problem in that system too. The principle of separation of powers presents a lot more tripwires or bulwarks against that kind of abuse or those kinds of inefficiencies. It's rare that any one party can capture all three branches. including both houses of Congress, a filibuster-proof majority in the Senate, the presidency, and an ideologically aligned majority on the Supreme Court. Even if that were to happen, the fact that the responsibilities and rights of the different branches are different and decentralized constitutionally empowers these separate institutions to exercise their power. It purposely prevents our government as a whole from speaking with one voice. So it does frustrate big changes. Whether you think that's a good change or a bad change, it's hard it was to pass the New Deal. A parliamentary democracy could have imposed that legislation overnight. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? I guess it depends on your policy perspective, but our system recognizes the importance of protecting minority rights, the rights of everyone, not just the people who agree with the government, the importance of consensus, and the importance of protecting your individual rights, and recognizing that the main impediment or the main thing you have to do to protect the individual rights is to prevent the abuse of power by the government. And that's a big difference conceptually between our form of government, our Constitution, and the thought behind it, and many of these other countries, where our founding fathers conceived of it as a bottom-up endeavor, where the power comes from the people. And you know, you've heard that your whole life, but what does it mean? It means that they recognize that it's not about the king or the sovereign through giving us a piece of their God-given rights. It's the other way around. It's the people that give the government their rights. So you may be asking yourself, that sounds all good. You're really saying, so you're saying this frustrating system with separation of powers that leads to gridlock is more important than those brilliant, pure ideals in the Bill of Rights. I mean, we talk about them all the time. And they're not important, they're vital. I get that. So I said it's a little bit of a trick question. But my position is, absent that formal separation of powers, we would just be dependent on the benevolence of those in charge to guarantee and exercise those rights that are present in the Bill of Rights. So, like I said, while it's working well in some places I mentioned before, they've all had their civil wars, fights, strikes. I mean, we've had our struggles too. Like we say, this is constantly a work in progress. But it's one that's designed to succeed. So it's the separation of powers, constitutionally delineated and relied upon, that provides the framework to give the words in the Bill of Rights effect and true meaning, and not just become an aspirational guidebook. So isn't that a little cynical? Maybe, but it's accurate, unfortunately. Like I mentioned, the Founding Fathers knew this. They fought a war against a relatively, in the scope of human existence, not awful monarch. I mean, if this were 1776, I'd be run out of here. But like, in the grand scheme of things, the British monarchy, at least as far as giving rights to their citizens, wasn't the worst of all time. In fact, as we all know, when you really study the history, they were willing to give the colonists a lot more rights if they just wouldn't have the revolution. But the colonists, led by the Founding Fathers, said no dice. And why? Because they knew that it was just by grace that they were given those rights. There was no structure, no fundamental preservation of those rights. And it's just not worth it to take something for your generation, we talked about from one generation to the next, take something for you and not know if your children or their children have a future under a free society. So the separation of powers was the central theme, one of the central themes, if not the most important, in the thinking of the Founding Fathers and the Enlightenment thinkers that influenced them, as evidenced by their discussions in the Federalist Papers. So authored primarily by Alexander Hamilton, James Madison, and John Jay, the Federalist Papers were a series of essays written to advocate for the ratification of the United States Constitution. So in Federalist 47, James Madison, citing Montesquieu, the French always come up, and contrasting with the British government and even the nascent state governmental structures, famously argued that the accumulation of all powers, legislative, executive, and judicial, in the same hands would constitute the very definition of tyranny. So Madison emphasized the necessity of maintaining separate and distinct branches of government to prevent any one branch from becoming too powerful and infringing upon the rights of people. He believed in that separation of powers as a safeguard against tyranny by ensuring the checks and balances that we have become almost second nature to us today, but this was revolutionary at the time. Similarly, in Federalist 51, Madison, maybe Hamilton, there's a little debate in some of these, further elaborated on the importance of checks and balances in maintaining the separation of powers. He famously wrote, "Ambition must be made to counteract ambition," highlighting the founders' belief that the self-interest and ambition of individuals within one branch would serve as a natural check on the ambitions of others, preventing one branch from dominating the others. That's what I said. This is a brilliant system that doesn't rely on pie-in-the-sky ideals. It takes the not always best instincts of humanity and uses that to affect the very change that they wanted to do. It's really brilliance in action. So I mentioned this before, but it's so important to our understanding of our Constitution and what it means for the rule of law. Our founders weren't living in an alternative reality, some Orwellian nightmare or Kafkaesque inherent contradiction where they use beautiful words to set up unachievable goals that were never exercised in real life. They set up a purposefully weakened government by design to protect what they viewed as the most important concepts: protection of liberty and the rule of law, and a rejection of the populist, the strongman, the dictator, the king, the caudillo, all of which they had seen in their lifetime. Alexander Hamilton also contributed to this discussion of separation of powers in one near and dear to the heart of many judges, Federalist 78, where he discussed the role of the judiciary in maintaining this balance of power, this importance of implementing the rule of law. Hamilton argued that the judiciary, as the least dangerous branch, would act as a check on both the legislative and executive branches by interpreting the Constitution and ensuring the laws and actions conform to its provisions. But Hamilton recognized the importance also by calling it the least dangerous branch. Why was it the least dangerous? It's not that he thought necessarily that every judge was great. They really are. But that's not what he was counting on. He was counting on the fact that they don't have their own army. You don't see a judge's police force, a judge's army, and the judges have no ability to enforce their will other than through good judgment, through the showing that they respect the rule of law that they are tasked with and swear to enforce. So while the judges may have the last word on many things, at least the way our system works now, seems like once the courts speak, that's oftentimes part of the end of the story. But the judges are no philosopher kings who simply can lay down an edict. They have they're constrained by law. They're constrained by their role in our constitutional system, and they're wholly dependent on the other branches of government for the enforcement of their will. So judges can't even fund themselves. It's not like it's a self-funding source. It relies on Congress. Congress doesn't just fund the courts, they create them. Other than the Supreme Court, every federal court is a creation. It's not in the Constitution. If you look at Article 3 of the Constitution, it's almost like a footnote. It's like that big on the Constitution. So what does that mean? It means the judges have an important role, but it's not an outsized role. It's really the people's representatives that do the heavy lifting, and the judges are left in their narrow lane to enforce enforce those laws or faithfully interpret them. So the Founding Fathers recognized the importance of this separation of powers and gave each branch, like I said, not necessarily equal powers, but separate powers. Their insights, articulated in the Federalist Papers, continue to shape the constitutional discourse even today, and inform the design of democratic institutions around the world. So let's talk about some of those systems. I mentioned Great Britain, a little bit France, and Canada, Germany. These are what one might consider more of the well-functioning democracies, even though they use a different system. But there's other things out there. We contrast this to other countries where the rights in their founding documents are just mere words on a page. They're more a cruel joke than a promise. Many countries have eloquent constitutional language promising rights and freedoms, but without separation of powers and the robust institutions that result from that separation, those countries lack mechanisms for enforcement. So, for example, I mean, we could really go around the world, but I've taken a few examples. Zimbabwe, after independence, promoted a beautiful, modern constitution with extensive provisions safeguarding human rights, including freedom of expression and the right to a fair trial. That's not what happened. So not just against what he considered the representatives of the colonial legacy, but anyone who didn't agree with him. So we see this story repeated around the world. In Russia, under both Soviet Russia and now post-Soviet Russia, the Constitution includes guarantees of freedom of speech, assembly, and association. Do you really think you have free speech, rights of assembly and association in Russia? Not so sure. Even the Soviet Constitution had an impressive declaration of human and individual rights. But we see how that results in practice without a separation of powers, where the courts are controlled by the very same people who are prosecuting you. A lot of people trying to enforce those guaranteed rights end up in a gulag, poisoned, or on the wrong side of a window in a tall building. The judiciary, while theoretically independent, well, let's just say I'm not sure how many not guilty verdicts they get over there. And the Duma is basically a cheering section for Putin, where the only argument appears to be who can clap loudest in favor of the government. So all those rights on paper, completely meaningless without a separation of powers. I mean, China, same idea. Closer to home, we have Venezuela, Nicaragua, and Cuba, among others. Cuba, whose constitution enshrines a range of rights and freedoms, including health care, education, and housing. However, the Cuban constitution concentrates powers in the hands of one party. There are no other parties, effectively rendering the separation of powers completely theoretical. The executive branch is led by the President of the Council of State and the Council of Ministers, exerts total control over the legislature and judicial branches, and is totally subservient to the Communist Party. There's no separation, no independence, and no ability to act as a check on government power. Quite the opposite. It is the hammer the government uses to stifle dissent and freedom. While the Cuban Constitution outlines impressive socioeconomic rights, the lack of genuine separation of powers and institutions undermines the enforcement of those rights in practice. Dissent and political oppression are dissent and political opposition are met with repression, ranging from brutal beatings, arrests, detentions, to softer expressions of this absolute power, like refusal to grant a permit, or a business license, or a travel visa. The judiciary is compromised, to the extent you can even call it a separate branch, because it's not an independent body. It's merely an appendage of the ruling party. As a result, constitutional guarantees become those cruel jokes I mentioned before, hollow promises, lacking meaningful avenues for redress when violated by the government. So these examples aren't just scare tactics. You can go around the world. It's not confined to one party or one side. Anytime you have the ability to concentrate power in one person, our founding fathers thought that would happen. And look around the world, it has. So we really are this shining city on a hill. We have been and we continue to be. These examples underscore the importance of having not only strong constitutional language, but ensuring there's effective mechanisms to enforce those rights. So the constitutional rule of law and the concept of rule of law and respect for individual rights depends, as our founding fathers suspected, on that robust separation of powers. So it might be less sexy than a list like the Bill of Rights. It's not something you can really point to literally on a page, because you have to look at the whole system to understand it. But that's why it's so important. It underlines, it's the spine, it's the skeleton, it's the support for our entire system. All right. Me. Let's see. Okay, so our founders recognized this was a great experiment. And like any great experiment, our system has been challenged. We're always striving for a more perfect union. Some of the challenges we've faced under our constitutional system include court packing plan under Franklin Roosevelt when he was trying to pass the New Deal. It failed, but it was constitutionally authorized if he had gone through with it. The tension between the Supreme Court and the executives over the years, including John Marshall. In 1832, he wrote a decision called Worcester versus Georgia to strike down a Georgia law that imposed regulations on the comings and goings of whites on Native American lands. So this is the decision which President Jackson probably didn't say, but it's attributed to him. Mr. Marshall has made his decision, let him enforce it. So what happened there was the Supreme Court made a decision expounding on some rights and responsibilities, and the president basically told him, yeah, good luck with that. So I'd argue, though, that rather than create a constitutional crisis, this was actually highlighted the good of our system. This didn't destroy our government. It didn't bring down our constitutional system of government. Our constitutional system of government has enough points in it to allow the pressure to come off of it. So we moved on. We have the institutions. On the other hand, you have President Eisenhower activating the National Guard to enforce the Supreme Court's decision in Brown v. Board. This shows how the power is not concentrated in one person or one group's hands. And you might say, well, it should have been, the Supreme Court should have been able to enforce their decision in favor of the Cherokee tribes. And that's a bad decision, and it should have been enforced. Well, maybe not. But my point is, our constitutional system is more important than any one decision. It's the way that the executive and the legislature and the judiciary interact with each other. It's not perfect. I've said that many times. It is by design not perfect. It's designed to last and give maximum rights. Now, you can put a lot, like I said, you can put anything on the paper, but our founding fathers are smart enough to realize that they didn't want to let the perfect be the enemy of the good. And I would say our system isn't just good, it's the very best that's been created by men and women on this planet. So they said, let's take that. Let's take that piece of the pie. So from that tension, our rights and liberties are preserved. And the rule of law lives to fight another day. It's still there. So thank you for your time and attention. I know I'm the only thing standing between you and lunch, and I'm happy to continue this conversation. It's one that we will continue for many generations and many more law days. So thank you all for having me.
I have to say that Judge Boker, thank you so very much, because obviously you put in so much time and preparation in sharing with us these very, meaningful words. And I have to say what comes through is your wisdom. We are so blessed to have you as a third DCA judge.
Because I started
here.
at North Dade.
Yeah, but really, look at this man and look at the type of jurist he is, the time, the effort, and his words. It is so very much appreciated.
Checks in the mail.
You are our star, along with our other stars, all here present, trial judges, Supreme Court justices, and appellate judges. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. I learned a lot listening to you this morning, and I hope our friends have, and the students. This is incredible. Your speech was absolutely incredible. Thank you so much. But you're getting the sands of time. Oh. The sands of time from all of us. Come here, dear friends.
Are you
dear
saying
colleagues.
I spoke too long? Is that?
Here. Yes, this is to time you. We expect for you to put this in a very prominent place in your office.
I would love to.
Linda and I are going to come and check. We hope it will be displayed.
They're not lying.
Anyway, this is for you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you on behalf of all of us. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So much, my God.
Okay, to conclude,
We're just
have
about
to
done.
thank a few people. Thank you again to our wonderful sponsors and to Commissioner Paul Cruz of Moe's Bagels, always being a great friend of the court. and we love the bagels. Thank you to our IT department sites for taking care of the live stream and recording our program. We couldn't do without Lohan, Lewis, Gus, and Raul, along with Eunice Sigler, Director of the Office of Government Liaison, Public Relations, and Matthew Bodefield, Communications Specialist. Shout out to Andy, our intern Mateo Gomez, all grown up. He started with Judge Demetrius, but we grabbed him, and he's now an adjunct professor and marketing director for Barry University. Mateo, stand up.
Okay, just a few more thank yous. So this beautiful courtroom decorated really goes to our superstar Maria Luisa. She is magnificent. She's an amazing party planner, so thank you. And also, a very big thank you to Giselle, Janai, Michelle, Esther, and Sheila. My special Sheila, please stand up. This 25 years together, my love. She's retiring with me. Anyway, thank you, Sheila, for being an invaluable part of the North Dade family. A big thanks to our bailiffs, my beautiful Arena back there, Lloyd, Michael, Cecily, Edwin, and his wife, Kimberly, and of course, our wonderful Elaine Adler, who's with us every single year. Where are you, Elaine? We are very grateful to you. And thank you all for coming. This was an unbelievable law day. Elaine. And we are done. Judges. Oh, we love you.
That was really nice, really well done.
Thank you so much.
I hope it was okay.
It was great, and especially the students.
Oh, they're
Really,
great.
it's very wonderful.
After all this, it's hard.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Are we taking a judge picture before everyone starts leaving?
Let's do that. Where's Andy? Let's do a judge's picture.
I just did a quick 3 hearing training, so I ran out, did 3 Zooms, and came right back. I had everybody set up. Okay, they're all here. My best.
I got a text from my day. Afternoon,
My special, we're taking a group picture. You just